Hello and welcome. It's day one of the second Test match. We're live from the Oval. It's the first day and the review of that with Nasser, Hussain and Dinesh, Karthik. Curfew gate looms large over pretty much everything it has done for the last 10 days, but we'll perhaps leave that at the moment and start where all good stories do, and that is at the beginning. 3 debutants in the Test match for England, 5 changes in all, but 3 young men who are very excited and very, very happy to have got the chance to represent their country. Sonny Baker, Jordan Cox and James Root. Do you boys remember your first
I
game?
was Jamaica against Patrick Patterson and the rest.
So no,
I've tried to completely blank it from my memory, but we did win that test. I think I was caught behind off Ian Bishop for 13. I'll take that.
13,
Bish got
pretty
me.
good.
Bish got me.
What was that tour? 1990, was it? Something like
89, 90, yeah. That was the famous one. I think that was the first one Sky had, an away tour, so it was good fun. We were a very young side. We had a few debutants as well. Alex Stewart played that. I roomed with him. It was a good fun trip, but not facing that fearsome West Indies attack.
DK, you have any memories of your first time in the Test match arena?
Interestingly, my debut in first class, I was one of 3. So 3 of us debuted in that game together. In international cricket, my debut was against Australia in Mumbai. It's a very famous game because it got over in a day and a half. Australia were chasing 100 in the last innings and they got all out for 75 or 80. So it was a very famous game that way. Australia won the series, but again, I was one of 2 in terms of debutants there as well. Myself and Gautam Gambhir debuted in the same game.
And you, Butch? Where was your debut?
Mine was Edge. Was your game? Okay, right. The 200.
Double 207.
Yeah, 200. Was it 207?
207.
You got that many? Did you?
Yeah. That was your debut game.
Vaughan McGrath.
You must have thought I could play, eh?
Yeah. You soon dispelled that particular thought. No, yourself and Graham thought with that incredible partnership. We're 1-0 up in the Ashes. That was my first taste of it. I remember it was very similar actually to this morning.
1-0 up, and you got a double 100 in that test. What happened to that test?
That's the test we won. First test of the series, and then the wheels came off after that.
6-match series, yeah. We went 1-0 up. Drew the series. We were still 1-0 up at the third test, and ended up losing the series 3-2. The thing I remember about that, and I wonder if, I interviewed all 3 of the debutants this morning, and they all seem to be very, very relaxed. I wonder if things are much different now for players. They play Lions games. They're very much more in tune and around all the players. They don't walk into a dressing room full of people that they were perhaps admiring from afar, but had never met them. Was that the case with you? You said you had Mark Ramprakash and Alec. You had people that you played with back in.
Yeah, but we may have
90.
played some A tours together. Remember in those days, the odd A tour. But I literally walked in and there was Alan Lamb there and Robin Smith and all these legends. I think Wayne Larkins had been playing for Northants for years, so it was a bit of an eye-opener for me. But not only just your team, like that West Indies team. So the first time I faced Patrick Patterson would be the first time I've ever faced him in any game of cricket. Whereas now,
no footage to look at.
No, exactly. Whereas now they all know each other so well. They play franchise cricket with and against each other. So it's not like an intimidation factor. The biggest thing, as we said this morning on the pitch, is the occasion. You're playing in a test match at the Oval, this famous old ground. You've waited all your life for that moment. You basically don't want to fluff your lines. I don't think all 3 of them have. They've been pretty good.
I was going to ask you. So they go in when you get your cap number playing for England. It goes in alphabetical order. So Sonny Baker is 721, Jordan Cox 722, James Root 723. Let's start with Sonny Baker. He's picked up a couple of wickets. A lot of people wouldn't have seen him. He's only played 13 first-class games. How's he gone today?
I think he's gone well. I like his attitude. I think on debut, you look at attitude more than anything else. He plays with a smile on his face. He loves bowling, and I think that will stand him in good stead because bowling is hard work. I thought he bowled better from the end that we're at, what we call this Vauxhall end. And then when he moved up the pavilion end, he really struggled a little bit. He was bowling from where the stumps are, and he didn't quite have the rhythm. He got a wicket. Who was it? Mitchell pulled one to mid-wicket, but he looked better at the Vauxhall end. So, but I like him. I like his attitude. They say he's a real learner. He's willing to learn. He's always asking, how do I get better? And I think that's a key when you're trying to become an international cricketer for a long time.
James Rew, wicket-keeper on debut. He even mentioned it himself, that odd circumstances to come in with Jamie Smith having paternity leave after the birth of his daughter. How's he gone behind the stumps? Looked pretty tidy?
Yeah, I think he had a good day. Won't say a great day because I think he was really tested as a wicketkeeper on both sides, to his left and right. At times, there could have been a couple that he could have stopped, but overall, the catches that came his way, he took. It was a pretty clean day in terms of the number of times he took anything that came wobbling at him. So the basic things he did very well. But I must say it was baptism by fire in many ways, because he was just moving left, right, almost throughout the day. I mean, Jofra Archer bowled a brilliant spell at the back end, and even in that spell, he was tested ones that were going over him, to the side of him, and all of that. So I think he'd be happy with how the day went. But can he do better work behind the stumps? I think there is possibility of him getting better as a wicket-keeper.
Yeah, 44 extras for England. There are lots and lots of byes and wides, none of which were James Rew's fault, I must add. On the day's play, I mean, as we sit here at the moment, New Zealand 284 for 7. New Zealand won the toss. England won the toss and stuck New Zealand in. It's been a slightly odd day, because I don't think either side has been anywhere near at its best, and yet at the moment, you would say on an oval pitch that England are probably just about ahead?
Yeah, I think so. I think you know this pitch well. This year in county championship cricket, if someone said 284 for 7, the bowling side will say, thank you very much, we'll take that. Now, obviously, this is international cricket, and the quality of bowling in Archer, the spell he bowled against Phillips is still going on here now. The battle between Phillips and Archer was box office. I think New Zealand will be a little bit concerned, and the softness of some of the dismissals, with a lot of batters getting in and getting out. You know, there's a lot of starts in there, and the oval, if you can get in and go big, that's a way to make a massive score in your first innings. And they're putting up the scorecard there, and there's a load of 30s, 20s, 40s, and no one has gone on and made that meaningful contribution. 51
top score by Tom Blundell. I mean, would you agree with that? New Zealand have kind of been architects of their own downfall through most of the day?
I completely agree with what Nasser said, purely because I think the pitch was, for a start, much better than what it was at Lord's. There were not too many demons out there. Yes, the odd ball seemed, and probably they had to fight for the runs. It wasn't the flattest pitch, but definitely not one where you want to be 284 for 7, or if I had to break it down a little further...
Hold on.
One where you do get start and you throw it away.
Yeah.
Like a couple of batters would be sitting down there thinking, did I play the right shot there? Could I have got a little more? And I think the answer to that question to themselves would be yes.
I have to say England didn't quite get it right as a bowling unit. You have to give them a little bit of leeway. It's an inexperienced bowling attack.
29 caps in total for the seamers before this game?
Before, right.
Before
okay,
this
yeah.
game,
Yeah, so they just bowled both sides of the wicket. I think the first half hour there were a lot of leaves, so it looked pretty outside the off stump, and then they corrected, but they overcorrected, and there was a lot of balls down the leg side, a lot of clip balls. You know, as a left-hander, you just love a ball that you can clip it away to the leg side. So I don't think they quite got their lines right, but there was quite a lot of movement maybe after the ball went past the stumps, but they kept the shine on the ball. We've had a lot of rain in early June here in London, and the oval outfield is very green, and the pitches are very green. So they kept the Duke's ball very shiny on one side, and it swung throughout the day, which will keep New Zealand's high-quality bowling attack interested tomorrow at some stage.
Jacob Bethell picked up a couple of wickets. Neither team decided to play a spinner. Mitch Santner sat it out. You could understand why, from New Zealand's point of view. England had the opportunity, perhaps, at number 7 to play Rayan Ahmed, but they chose to go with Jordan Cox, and lengthen the batting lineup. Do you think that might be a problem later on in the game, or not?
Maybe a bit, if the game, the pitch really becomes abrasive at the back end. The county champo matches tell you that Surrey haven't played a spinner, even though they haven't got a great spinner. Now they've got Rahul Chahar in, so hopefully he helps them in their championship journey. But I think days 4 and 5, there is definitely a role for the spinner, but for the first 3 days. And it also tells you the value of a batting all-rounder. I mean, Stokes is missing this game, tells you what he gives you in terms of a sheer combination. When you're able to play that extra spinner purely because you know he can do the fourth seamer's job. And on a day like this is when you think, Stokes' bowling would have been quite a handful to have. But definitely, I think this bowling attack is good enough for the first innings and for the first 3.5 days. It's only at the back end. More than England, I think New Zealand will feel the heat a little bit more because they'll be bowling fourth on a pitch which will probably assist their spinners if they had played. They don't have one as well. Glenn Phillips is the one and Rachin Ravindra. So it's going to be interesting how they line up. But for England, I must say that they've gone with depth in their batting. And understandably so. The fact that they don't have a pace bowling all-rounder is why they've gone with 4 pacers.
I know you well, Mark Butcher. You'd have wanted some kind of spin option, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I mean, our group WhatsApp, it was heated at one stage. You wanted Rayan Ahmed. I think Ath wanted Udi, one Harrison. Calvin Harrison. I think I wanted Dan Lawrence at one stage. You came in today saying I would never go into a game without a spinner. They've gone this way. Both sides have gone with very similar balance to their sides, really. And that, as DK says, the value of Stokes. Bashir's had an interesting couple of games, actually. He played at Lords and didn't bowl a ball when he shouldn't have played. And here, he hasn't played, and towards the end of this game, because the forecast is to get hot, it may spin. It's quite dry underneath.
Yeah, it might well do. He's had an interesting time, hasn't it? We were talking about it. Showed Bashir hasn't played a test match for England since the second or third test against India at Lords when he broke his hat. So it's been a long time between rodeos for him. Now, you mentioned Ben Stokes.
I just want to ask you all a question. You were discussing about spinners in the WhatsApp group. There's Shoaib Bashir in the team, but Athers wanted Calvin Harrison. You wanted Rehan Ahmed. You want Dan Lawrence. Why is the name Shoaib Bashir not making the rounds amongst...
Can I say first, mine was a horses for courses, that this pitch is not a big spinning pitch. It used to be in our day when we played. Tufnell's bowled them out here. Warren was magical. Saqlain Mushtaq Ahmed. You go through the history of the Oval and it used to spin. Nowadays, what Surrey do is have that part-time spinner in Dan Lawrence. He's a bit better than part-time, but... So I would have gone, and he's in good form and he's getting runs as well. So that's why I'd have gone him. I don't know if I would have gone a frontline spinner on here.
I mean, my reasoning behind it is partly because with the 4 quicks that England were always going to play no matter what, with none of them, with Archer probably being the best of the batters there, but 8 feels even a little bit high for him, but that's fine because the pitch is very flat. So Rayan Ahmed has first-class hundreds, is a very, very handy batter coming in down at number 7, and I guess frontline spinner is a bit much. He's taken Test match 5 for 6 fors. That it's just something very different, and if the game goes deep, then you have a wicket-taking option as a spin bowler later on. So on this occasion, given the makeup of England's side, I would have gone for Rehan instead of Shoaib Bashir. That was basically.
And they will say, well, Jacob Bethell's got 2 for here on the first day.
He's got 2, it's 2 for on the first. But again, I'm thinking more the other end of the game, whereas sometimes the selections are very much based on what might happen on the first 2 days. But anyway, you mentioned Ben Stokes, and we've got people watching now, so we might as well get into it. You were very impassioned at the lunch break, Nas. On the question of Ben Stokes and perhaps the question that hasn't been answered about Ben Stokes. Everybody knows the details as much as they're out in the public domain about what happened and why he's been suspended and why Gus Atkinson has been suspended. But the question that hasn't been answered is by either McCullum or Key or anybody at the ECB is Ben Stokes still England captain? And there hasn't been an answer to that. And I guess my view,
with the proviso, obviously, of what happens in this process that they're going through. Of
there not being anything horrendous that would then preclude that. But there hasn't been, nobody has turned around and said, you know what, if Ben mentally is okay, if the review or whatever it is, the investigation turns up nothing more than a breaking of the curfew, Ben Stokes is our captain and we want him back. Nobody has said that. Why?
I don't know, and that's what I did say at lunch, is that I think it is time. And now, and even before now, when they were asked, that they should have maybe backed their captain a little bit more. The captain has been there for this whole team for a very long time now. He has put the side first. He's put on performances. He's bowled some spells where his body is falling apart. He's got great emotional intelligence of handling players on and off the field that haven't quite got it right. And he's put his arm round people when they've gone through difficult patches. And the first time that he goes through this difficult patch. Remember all the stuff from Bristol and even before that on A tours and Lions tours? That was an old Ben Stokes. This version of Ben Stokes, this is the first time he's messed up. And he did mess up. He broke his own curfew that he was part of instigating. The first time he does that, everyone has just gone, whoa, we're not backing you yet. I would have liked just a little bit of Ben's our captain. And he's still our captain, and once we got through this process, he will lead England in the future. Unless you don't think he gets in the side because of where his batting is, or more importantly and more likely, Ben Stokes himself says, I'm done with the captaincy. He hits us all eventually. He hit Atherton, he hit Vaughan, he hit Stokes, he hit me. Between the eyes, it hits you. I don't want to do this job anymore. And that, for me, is actually the most major decision. Does Ben Stokes sit there and think, I want to do this job anymore? If he does, I believe he should come back as England captain. Outsider's view?
Yeah, I think looking at what they've got, the fact that they've gone for Root ahead of Brook, even in this test match, tells you they're not fully convinced there. So for me, without a doubt, he's the best man for the job. The question is whether he wants it, and that's the big one.
OK, good answer. 291 for 7. Things have finished up here very late.
You've nailed that perfectly, and you're right on last ball. You've nailed that perfectly.
It's very much more luck than judgment. Wickets apiece for Archer, Fisher and Tongue. Sonny Baker with 2. Jacob Bethell with 2. New Zealand might well be kicking themselves that they haven't made better use of what have been fantastic batting conditions, albeit a little bit of swing at times. But that just about rounds it up here for day one. An interesting test match in prospect. The Stoke story will run, and we might get round to Joe Root and his captaincy today. But for now, Dinesh, Nasser, thank you so very much, and we'll see you tomorrow.